Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Ratliff Mandolins production diary, where I share with you all the happenings around the mandolin workshop during the week. And we're going to start Monday off with the tale of cut down trees. We're not too far from the end of the shop here, just about 3 feet, and I have a bank goes up here. Very steep bank, and I had a couple of really big trees growing out here, and they were actually leaning over top of the shop, and I just knew that in a good storm or something, those things were going to come down and tear my shop up. So I called a friend of mine, Greg Barrett, who runs Barrett's Tree Service here in East Tennessee, and I'll put his number across the bottom of the screen right now. If you're in East Tennessee and you need a tree cutting service, these guys are really good and they know what they're doing. He's got all the right equipment and everything. So anyway, he come out. Well, he called me Monday morning and said, "Can we make it today?" And I said, "Yes, you sure can." So they come out, and I took some video footage of them cutting big trees down. Just the most ingenious method. He's got this big high lift. It's a 89-foot boom, fit right in this very narrow area right here. And outriggers come down, and he lifted a fella all the way up to the top of those trees, and they just started cutting them in little bitty sections coming right down. It was a very ingenious thing to watch. So I took plenty of footage all the way from the beginning to the cleanup part. So let me say that took up pretty much all of Monday, and after we run that footage, we'll start in on Tuesday. First thing I done Tuesday was to wrap the next appropriate piece on the back of the R5 master model that I'm putting the binding on, and that would be the piece between the two body points. And got that wrapped on, and that leaves only 2 pieces left on that mandolin. It'll be complete, the body at least will be completely bound. That leaves the shoulder area and the heel button. So we're coming right along on that thing. And then after I done that, I pulled the very first left-handed mandolin off of the wall and brought it back here and started the whole process of getting the strings on the hardware and all that kind of stuff. Let me explain those left-handed mandolins to you. As many of you know, I'm left-handed, and I keep a mandolin here that I play, and I also usually keep 1 or 2 in the big room in a box in the white in some stage of construction. Um, and over the years, both of these left-hand mandolins that we're working on in this batch, of course, got pretty close to being finished, and that's why we're doing those all the way on out, putting the strings on them. But I've always, to back up, I've always had some left-handed pieces going all the time. And then when somebody, a potential customer, calls me and says, well, I'd like to talk to you about left-handed mandolins, my standard response over the years has been, I've got 1 here that I'll sell you, a used one that I've been playing for the last ever how long I've been playing that mandolin, you know, and I'll take this much for it, or I'll build you a completely new one. And I've had people take me up on both offers. So I've always kept a fully playable left-handed mandolin plus pieces and parts where I could quickly at least get started on another one. And so, like I said, these things have been brought along piece at a time over the years until they pretty much were finished, except for putting the fingerboard on them. And so I went ahead and put the fingerboard on them. And in this particular batch, 2 left-handed mandolins that do not have immediate customers for them. They're just going to go in a case, and I'll wait, you know, somebody to call and ask about them. But that's what I've got. That's what I'm doing in this batch. And so Tuesday I started putting the hardware on, and the nut, and the, you know, the tune keys and the tailpiece and all like that. And I had to take one of those gator cases and alter it so that a left-handed mandolin would fit in it. And so that's pretty much took the bigger part of Tuesday. And by the end of the day, I was getting pretty close to putting the strings on it. But that was pretty much where I spent Tuesday, was a little bit on the R5 master model, and then the rest of the day was spent with the very first mandolin in the batch to have its strings put on a left-handed F-style country boy. Now, Wednesday started out at this very table because by the end of Tuesday, I realized that I hadn't any warranty cards, any registrations, any care and feeding booklets printed up for this batch of mandolins, and some tags. I didn't have enough tags to do, the tags that glue down on the inside of the instrument. So Tuesday night, I went to the computer and pulled up the program and printed off all the labels and tags and booklets that I needed to finish this batch. And as you can see, I print several of the interior tags on a single sheet of paper and then just cut them out. So that's what I done Tuesday night, and finished that job up on Wednesday and got tags in that mandolin. And then I went to the next piece of binding on the R5 master model. And once I got that next to the last piece glued on, I realized that that heel button was just there in the open. So why not just go ahead and cut and fit a piece for that and glue everything at one time, which is exactly what I done. And I spent the rest of Wednesday with the 4 mandolins that doesn't have stain and at least a coat or 2 of finish on them, just sanding the tops, cleaning them up, trying to get them down to 220 grit and get them wet, raise the grain so that we can put the fretboard extenders on. And I think I got 2 of those done with the rest of the work time on Wednesday. And yesterday, which was Thursday, I spent all day pretty much standing right here working on this mandolin, which is the R5 Master model. I cleaned up the back, shaped everything, final shape, worked down through all the grits of sandpaper. I'm down to about 100 grit, and I've got everything shaped the way I wanted. All the humps and bumps and dips and everything is out. This thing is pretty much ready for just the 220 sanding process before we put finish on it. Also, I did the back of the peg head, cleaned it up really nicely. It was where it had been run through that big thickness sander down there. That's about 40 grit paper. So usually the backs of the peg head at this stage of the game, they're pretty rough too. So I spent some time there, and it cleaned up the sides and inside the scroll all the way around. And by golly, that took me pretty much all day yesterday. So that's where I stood right here all day. Now it is Friday morning, and there are 5 of those mandolins in the batch that have not had any stain or clear coats or any of the finishing process done. 2 of those this week I got the tops cleaned off and wetted down, grain raised and everything in preparation for putting the fretboard extenders on them. And I usually mark them once I get them that far along, and I put water on them, and all they need is their final 220 before I can glue that fretboard extender on. I'll put a little W right there on the top underneath the fretboard extender. And so those 5 that haven't been done, 2 of them are ready, and these other 3, including that R5 Master model that you just got through looking at, those have not been done. So I think that's what I'm going to spend my day on today. This Friday will be sanding those down, completely down, cleaning up the F holes. Well, 2 of them are oval holes, but that's what I do. Just clean up everything that can be cleaned up. Make sure there's no humps, no bumps, no nothing. Everything's sanded down to 220 grit paper, and then a good wet soaking to raise the grain and clean it all off again before I go and make the fretboard extenders to go on those before we put the fretboards on. So that's how that's how I plan on spending my day to day, is trying to at least get those 3 that far along. And if I get farther than that, I don't know. There'll be something to do, I promise you. So thank you so very much for staying with me for the rest of this entire video. I hope you found it enjoyable, and we'll come back next week for another episode of the Ratliff Mandolins production diary. Again, my name is Audie, and we look for you in the future. Bye.